Okay, Star Trek fans, it's Mike Freeman again from Mike's Anything Goes. And today we're going to talk about, well, basically explore the concept of this saying that too many cooks spoil the broth. And I'm going to talk about this in some other videos, but specifically as today's video, we're going to talk about a Star Trek episode that was one of my favorites when I was a kid called The Omega Glory. I don't know if you can see that. This is a VHS copy. And here's the back of it. Okay. And this was released during the second season, March 1st, 1968, episode number 54. So this starts out, there's so much going on in this episode, and we'll circle back to this, that it kind of, you kind of say, like, huh? How do we get to this point at the end of this episode? So the episode starts out really well. The Enterprise is in orbit around planet Omega 4, and Sulu tells Captain Kirk there's another object in planet orbit. So there's another starship in orbit. So Captain Kirk, Spock, Lieutenant Galloway, and Dr. McCoy beam over to examine the ship. What it's doing there. And the ship was commanded by Captain Ronald Tracy, who's one of the most experienced Starfleet captains in the fleet. So the fleet, Captain Kirk and the landing party beam over, and all they see are these uniforms with white powdery crystals coming out of them. And so they beam directly into engineering for strategic reasons, in case like the ship might have been taken over by enemy personnel, probably, to get the jump on them. And all they see are uniforms. And Captain Kirk says, as if they were in them when, right, when what? So that was pretty exciting, actually. And so you always see these bodies with these uniforms, empty bodiless uniforms with white crystals coming out of them. Okay, so they explore the rest of the ship, and it turns out that that's all they find. So they go onto the bridge to go through the last log to see what possibly could have happened to the crew. And Dr. McCoy is analyzing the crystals, and he goes, Captain, he goes, I just found the crew. They never left. They're still here. And he goes, what's this? And he goes, well, these crystals, their composition. This is what's left of the human body when there's no water left in it. So they dissolved into these crystals. So uh, Mr. Spock manages to get the last surgeon's log, and a Dr. Carter. We don't see his name during the episode, but it's reflected in the ending credits. Goes, if you come aboard this ship, don't go back to your own ship. You're all dead men. He goes. There's only one hope. Get down there. Get down to the planet fast. He goes, Captain Tracy, and then he dies. So Captain Kirk, Spock, Lieutenant Galloway, and Dr. McCoy beam down to the planet. And as they beam down, they kind of like beam down to this middle of this, town. It looks like it's run by uh, Asiatics. They look like they're Korean, or I don't know, Chinese, some type of Asian race. And they're about to chop off the head of this guy who's like struggling. He's got animal fur on, whatever. And they see Captain Kirk and the party approaching, and they're about to swing the axe at Captain Kirk when you hear this, put the axe away, Liang, and it's Captain Tracy, who is still surviving. So Captain Tracy's like, "Oh, Jim, I'm glad you found us. You found us. I'm sorry to be you." And and I go, "What are you doing down on this planet alone, Ron?" And he goes, "Well," I went to establish a treaty with the village elders, and all of a sudden, the crew beamed up ahead of me, and then all of a sudden they contacted me, and they told me they brought back, an unknown disease aboard." He goes, "My crew, Jim, my entire crew gone." He goes, "And I'm just as infected as they are, as you are." He's like, "None of us will ever leave this planet." So during this colloquy between the two of them, uh, Captain Tracy says to the leader of the Asiatics, "Woo." He goes, "No more of this, Woo." And they take this man who's about to behead into the cells, and Woo goes, "But they carry fireboxes." And he's pointing at Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock's phasers. So he goes, "I said no more of this." So Mr. Spock goes, "Well, it's interesting that the villagers know about phasers." So um, we advance ahead a little bit into the story, and Captain Kirk is alone with Dr. McCoy, and it turns out that he ends up to the ship, and for some reason they are all infected, all of them. Spock, Lieutenant Galway, Dr. McCoy, Captain Kirk, and that if they hadn't been on the planet, they'd be dead. But what's gnawing away at Captain Kirk is getting the feeling that Captain Tracy has been interfering with the Prime Directive, and of course, the Prime Directive is the non-interference directive established by the Federation of Planets, saying that under no conditions, General Order One, you don't interfere with the natural development of the planet's evolution. Okay, and it's pretty obvious that Captain Tracy's been doing something. So as Dr. McCoy and Captain Kirk are talking about this, the door opens up and Lieutenant Galloway's there and he's wounded. And Spock takes him over and he's like, a Yang Lance doctor. And so, like, it turns out that the white people, the savages, are the Yangs. And the civilized people, the Asiatics, are called the Combs. So, like, Mr. Spock goes, Captain Tracy's being quite factual in several things. He goes, the Yangs seem almost contemptuous of death. He goes, Spock, is there any way we could talk to them? A truth parley? And then Lieutenant goes, no. He goes, they're wild, they're crazy, they're almost insane. And he goes, Captain Tracy's also being factual that the Yangs are massing for an attack. There are signs of thousands of them in the foothills beyond. He goes, however, he was less than factual about one important matter. And Captain Spock shows Captain Kirk a phaser power pack. It goes, Captain Tracy's reserve belt packs, empty, found among the remains of several hundred Yang bodies. He goes, a smaller attack on his village a week ago, driven off by Captain Tracy and his phaser. I have found villagers who cooperated. So, so Captain Kirk now knows that Captain Tracy has violated the Prime Directive. He goes, the fool, and Spock is like, very, this is the command decision. Spock goes, regulations are quite harsh, Captain, but they're also very specific. If you do not act, you'll be considered equally guilty. So Dr. McCoy's like, now wait a second. This guy lost his ship and his crew, and he found himself the only person standing between himself and like a village of friendly people. He's like, he goes, what are we gonna do about this? And he goes, why arrest the man? He goes, I agree. Spock goes, I agree that formal charges have little meaning now. He goes, you must at least confiscate his phaser. So he goes, Captain goes like, oh, Starfleet should be aware, and it's just about to call in Captain Tracy, who has this knack of doing this throughout the whole episode. Pops in with his phaser, goes, I'll be sending the next message, Jim, and he's flanked by the Wu and some other Asian soldiers with swords, samurai swords out. And Lieutenant Galway goes to like try and shoot Captain Tracy, and Captain Tracy kills him with a phaser beam. All right. So they then take Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, uh, you know, hostage, but Tracy uh, tells Captain Kirk, look, these people, these Asiatic people, they've lived for like thousands of years. He goes, woo. He goes, woo, how old are you? What? Tell Captain Kirk your age. He goes, age? I've seen 42 years of the Redbird. He goes, my eldest brother he goes, their year of the Redbird comes once every 11 years, which Wu has seen 42 times. He goes, multiplied. Wu is 462 years old. He goes, his father is well over 1,000. Goes, so Captain Tracy thinks that they found something, some immunizing agent on this planet, which will give humanity the fountain of youth. And so basically he says, look, he's like, we'll stay alive and you order your ship away and we'll isolate this serum and after we perfected it, we'll have enough money. We can be able to bargain for thousands of ships. So Captain Kirk now realizes that Captain Tracy's going a little bit off the edge here, and doesn't go along with it. And there's a slight scuffle between the two of them. Captain Tracy wins, and so what Captain Tracy does is that he throws Captain Kirk into the cell with the individual, the crazy guy that they were about to behead at the beginning of the episode. So and he's got his girlfriend there too. So Spock is in the next cell, and uh, it's really kind of funny. They're fighting. Captain Kirk is fighting with the guy's going berserk, and he's like, and Mr. Spock goes, "Please try to continue talking to them, Captain. Their behavior is highly illogical." And he goes, "No point in telling me it's illogical, Spock." He goes, he goes, he's being choked, and luckily Captain Kirk gets the upper hand and knocks the guy out. So actually, and Mr. Spock does the Vulcan nerve pinch to the other lady, and it's like, and she's the girlfriend of the crazy guy. So it turns out that later, you know, Spock and Captain Kirk are talking, and yeah, Spock is like moving, working on like the grill, the iron cell to try to the bars to the cell to try to lose. He goes, Captain, I managed to loosen this grill somewhat. Yours might be just as weak. And he goes, I can't even get at it, Spock. He goes, they'll be on it in a minute. He goes, keep talking. We we got to keep trying. For we're gonna try to hope to regain our freedom until the savage goes, freedom. He goes, freedom? He goes, that is worship word. Yang worship. And he goes, well, well, well. And Captain Kirk's like, he goes, speak it. He goes, and he's like, well, I'm a prisoner too. He goes, you speak to the combs. He goes, I'm not a prisoner of the combs. So they start working on the grill together, the savage guy and Captain Kirk, and he managed to pry off the grill. And Captain goes, Spock, we'll have you in a minute. All of a sudden, the savage can bang hits Captain Kirk on the head and knocks him out. And it's kind of scary because Spock is like, Captain, are you able to respond? It's like something. And all you hear in this other room is like these grunts and like this guy's tearing the cell apart. And before they go to the commercial break, you see Captain Kirk knocked down and just focus on the window, meaning that this guy has escaped. So Captain Kirk and Spock manage to escape their cells and they meet up with Dr. McCoy. And now they learn that there is no serum, there is no fountain of youth here. The people live longer because it's natural for them to. And well, Captain Kirk goes, well, there is a disease, something that affected us, infected the crew of the Exeter, and Dr. McCoy goes, yes. He goes, the thing is that these immunizing agents take time, and he goes, had they had the crew of the Exeter just stayed here a little bit longer, they would have been fine. They would have been dead. So Captain goes, well, then anything you find here is useless. He goes, well, you know. Dr. goes, well, maybe someday it might, cure the common cold, but lengthen lives, poppycock. He goes, I can do more for you if you eat right and exercise regularly. So like all that bloodshed for nothing. So Spock is monkeying around with one of the medical computers to try to signal the ship. And then he goes, "We're ready to make voice contact." He's just like ready to touch the button. This phaser beam, hits the console, the piece of equipment, and Spock like gets knocked back. And it's Captain Tracy once again, who's always got throughout this whole episode. He just manages to come in at the right moment. And he's like, no messages, and he's all messed up. He's bleeding. He goes, "He's savage in the cell, Kirk." He goes, "You let him free." He warned the tribes. He goes, the Yanks must have been warned. He goes, they sacrificed thousands just to bring us out in the open. And then they came. We drained 4 of our phasers and they still came. And so uh he goes, as he's going through this rant, um uh Dr. McCoy goes, like, we got to bring Mrs. Spock back to the ship because impossible. You can't bring that disease back to the ship. And then Captain Kirk goes, we're all fine. There's no cure. There's no miracle cure. He goes, explain it to him, Doctor. And so Captain McCoy goes to Captain Tracy. He's like, leave medicine to medical men, Doctor. He goes, you found no fountain of youth here. People live longer here because it's natural for them to. And now Captain Tracy's like, holy cow. It's like, I just wasted my whole career on this whole folly. So like now Captain Tracy's furious and he goes outside. He goes, or I'll burn down both your friends right now. So he forces Captain Kirk outside, and at this point, the whole village is ransacked and everything like that. And Captain Kirk goes like, "Where is everybody?" And he's like, "Dead or in hiding." He goes, "I need your help, Kirk, because they're going to attack the village again." He goes, "My phase is almost drained." He goes, "We need new, fresh ones." He said, "We can beam up, Tracy." He goes, "Call your ship." He's like, "I want, you know, uh, you know, 10 phases with 4 extra power packs each." He goes, so Captain Kirk calls up and they haven't heard from him now for the whole episode and goes, Captain, and he goes, yes, could you please beam down 10 phasers with 4 extra power packs, please? And like, so Horace like, what the hell is going on? So Mrs. Sula comes over, was like, Captain, we can't do that without verification. And he's like, what's the situation? He goes, the situation is not immediately dangerous, Mr. Sulu. So obviously they can't bring the phasers down. So Captain Kirk closes the communicator, and Tracy goes, "You have a very well trained bridge crew, Captain. My compliments." And Captain Kirk gives him the phaser back. He knocks the phaser out of his hand. And Captain Tracy's knee lifts Captain Kirk to the face, and Captain Kirk starts running. And Captain Tracy fires, and he hits this jar, this big well, and it disappears. And now they're playing a little bit of a hide and seek, and all of a sudden Captain Tracy shows up, and he's about to shoot Captain Kirk, but now his phaser's empty. So there's this giant axe that's in like this piece of wood, and Captain Tracy goes to try to go after Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk jumps him, and as they're fighting, all of a sudden these two spears come down on both of them, and they stop struggling. And it turns out the Yang that was in the cell, him and his tribe have now taken over the village, and they take Captain Kirk and Captain Tracy hostage. So it turns out that this guy who was in the cell with Captain Kirk is one of the chiefs, Cloud Williams. I'm chief, also son of chief. So Captain Tracy, and Cloud Williams is making this speech. He goes, "What? This is the last of the Combe places. What is ours again. Should not be taken from us again." So all of a sudden, this man comes in. One of the Yangs comes in, and he's got this like American flag that's all tattered. I mean, the American flag on a planet billions of miles away. All right. So like Cloud Williams says, I plebly I nectum flabum to pep life for stat. It's a Captain Kirk was unto the Republic for which it stands. And so like the whole crowd's like, he spoke the holy words. And so like Cloud Williams goes, many of our high worship words. How is this? He goes, where's your tribe? You're confused. He goes, our tribe is somewhere in the lights you see in the sky. Like you're confusing, the stars with heaven. And then he goes, one of Cloud Williams, advisors goes, well, why are you here? Were you cast out? Now, all the time during the speech, Captain Tracy's looking around for an opening. He goes, so Captain Tracy goes, he was cast out. He's like, look at him. He goes, look at his servant. He looks at Mr. Spock. He goes, he's the leader of the evil one. He goes, and then Cloud William goes, he goes, let your God strike me dead, Cloud William. He goes, because I speak for him. And then Cloud William goes, well, you killed many Yangs. And then he goes, well, you tried to kill me. And he goes, and Captain Tracy, and Captain Kirk goes, well, he goes, we're not evil ones. We're just men like you. And then like Captain Tracy goes, doesn't your book of wisdom show the evil one? And they have a Bible, and there's a picture of Satan in it. And so it looks like Mr. Spock. And then Captain Tracy goes, you want even more proof? He has no heart. And so they go, bring him. And they bring Dr. Mr. Spock over. He's like, Mr. Spock is a little beaten up at this point. It's like he's not doing too well. And they feel his heart. And he goes, he has no heart. And the whole gasp in the crowd. And Dr. McCoy goes, his heart is different. The internal structure of an organ, the organs of a Vulcan. And of course, like, this is going way over the crowd. He's got the IQ of 5. Here's Dr. McCoy trying to explain Vulcan anatomy to them. And so then what you call it? Then the Cloud Williams advisor goes, one of them lies. Which one? He goes, if we kill the evil, the good, the evil will still be among us. He goes, there's a way. And so he takes out this parchment, which I think is the Constitution. And, and Cloud William goes, I will begin. You will finish. And he goes, these words are spoken, by the evil one. His tongue will surely turn to fire. So like now, like Mr. Spock is like they got a knife behind Mr. Spock's neck. It's so like so he goes, E pleb, it perfectunum or something like that, and Captain Kirk is like, wait a minute, those words sound familiar. And Captain Tracy goes, he fears to speak them. He goes, kill his servant, force him to speak it, so if we can see if the words burn him. So like they're about to kill Mrs. Spock, and Captain Kirk goes, wait a second, doesn't your book always say that good will destroy evil? Isn't it written? And so he goes, yes, it is written. So we now have a mano fight scene between Captain Tracy and Captain Kirk. So Cloud Williams, sticks a knife into the ground, and Captain Kirk and Captain Tracy are tied, hand to hand like this, and he goes, "The fight is done when one is dead," and so you know, Cloudwing goes hula, and they start fighting, and Captain Kirk and Captain Tracy are trading advantages throughout, and Captain Mr. Spock and Dr. McCoy, Dr. McCoy says, "We got to do something." He goes, "I'm, willing, I'm open to suggestions, Doctor." And all of a sudden, Captain Mr. Spock sees Cloud Williams' girlfriend standing next to him on the communicator. So Spock, I guess he has some type of ESP power or something. He starts staring at her, and all of a sudden she starts, moving around and picks up the communicator and walks over to Mr. Spock. So then we get back to the fight scene, and they're going at it, and uh, Captain Kirk manages to jump on Captain Tracy's arm and take out the knife, and he swings it down, but he stops, and then he's about to like cut Captain Tracy, and he stops, and Cloud goes, "Kill him! It is written." And all of a sudden, Captain Kirk frees Captain Tracy, and Sulu and some of the security guards beam down, and so uh, what do you call it? They place Captain Tracy under arrest, and everybody's happy. And then the way it ends is Captain Kirk "You see this?" He goes, "These beautiful words, we the people." They're not just written for the kings or the royals or the powerful, but for all the people. He goes, "These words, we the people of the United States of America." And he starts doing his constitutional declaration. He goes, "These words and the words that signed them were not just written for the Yanks, but for the Combs as well." He goes, "But the Combs." And Colin goes, "But the Combs." He goes, "They must apply to everyone, or they mean nothing. Do you understand?" And so Cloud's like, "I do not fully understand. One named Kirk. The holy words will be obeyed. I swear it." And so that's the way it ends, with them, what do you call it, looking at the Constitution. And Captain Kirk, Mrs. Bach, has got to be the killjoy, and he's like, well, it's no question about Captain Tracy's guilt, but isn't our interference now a violation?" He goes, "The fighting is done here, Mr. Spock." He's like, let them enjoy their liberty," and that's the way this episode ends. Now, this is, I like this episode, but the way it starts, like as a mystery, beaming over to this abandoned starship, finding all these empty uniforms with these crystals coming out of them, and then ending on this planet billions of miles away from Earth, where the Yangs represent the Yankees, America, and the Combs are the communists. I guess it's an allusion to the Vietnam War that was going on at the time, and uncovering the Constitution of the United States of America. It's bizarro. It's just, it's like, how do we go from that, where we had a genuine mystery, and it's really pretty eerie, and then some, like, this cool, like, we start out with this mystery, we have this rogue starship captain now, um and now, like, violating the prime directive, uh thinking he found the fountain of youth, and we wind up doing the preamble to the Constitution at the end of the episode. It's just like, so this is what I mean about, like, having, too many cooks spoil the broth. And it's like, well, he had this idea of a mystery, and then it turned into, like, a plot by a renegade starship captain involved in the Civil War, involving the ancestors from Vietnam, the Vietnamese War. I'm like, huh? So again, this second season of Star Trek, they were really playing out that this Hodgkin's law of parallel planet development. They throughout the whole second season. I think in the Patterns of Force episode, you have Nazi Germany. Also, there's a planet like Nazi Germany. Okay, you have this episode. You had bread and circuses. Also, we had a modern day Rome. So they really played on that theory a little bit too much. I don't know whether they were just bad writing or what have you. I actually like this episode. And Morgan Woodward, I think he might still be alive. He's such a great actor. Like, he comes across so well as Captain Tracy, especially when you first see him. He's very tall, dignified looking, and you could tell he's an experienced starship captain. And my crew, Jim, my entire crew, like, you could really feel that he's really expressing those emotions because he did lose his crew. I don't believe that Captain Tracy intentionally had this happen, but it was just by circumstance. Also, I like the scene when Dr. McCoy goes when they're leveling the charges against him, and Dr. McCoy goes, "Hey, wait a second! This guy lost his ship and his crew, and like they're trying to kill him, and he's standing, protecting these villagers, and we're gonna like throw the book at him." And I think you can make some type of argument for that, but then he murdered Lieutenant Galloway. I mean, he just blew him away, and that's what I think kind of like really, um, you know, uh, uh, kind of messed things up. I mean, the question is, I never really understood this prime directive. Like, how far do you take it? I think, like in the Brendan Circus's episode, when the pro council says, "Oh, but there's that prime directive again. You all swear you die before violating it." And then the question is, does that mean you can't protect yourself? I mean, I don't know. Uh, and or does that what does that mean? I mean, and it's like, was Captain Tracy really interfering? I don't know. I mean, they're attacking him, so it's kind of an interesting argument. But the way it devolves into this sort of like constitutional law episode with Captain Kirk think he's going to explain in like 30 seconds in the end. And, oh, and these words belong to the Combs as well. Your mortal enemies for the past 1,000 years, and everyone get along. I mean, you think that's really going to happen? I mean, it's like So, but I really I enjoyed this episode. I really did. I think it had a lot of good action in it, and like I said, Morgan Woodward does a great performance as Captain Tracy, from being this like a cold, calculating, dignified, sergeant captain to like a raving lunatic near the end of the movie, the episode, devolving into that, but also being very clever, especially the scene when when they've been captured by the Yangs, and the Yangs don't have that primitive mentality of good and evil, and he knows he can take advantage of this, and like you see him looking around for an advantage, and like, he was cast out, like, and he was very successful in saying that Captain Kirk was really the bad one, and he really wasn't. And of course, that resolved itself at the end of the episode. But also was interesting too. I don't know if this is maybe when Sulu and the two security guards beamed down to free the landing party. Well, aren't they infected now, or were they not there long enough to get infected? So they were okay. So it's kind of like, well, you weren't here long enough to get infected, and if you do get infected, then you got to stay really long to get cured. So I guess that was a little oversight. They weren't there that long. But anyway, great. I do like this episode a lot. I think it was like the next to last episode of the second season or close to it. And I think the last episode was Simon Earth. That's with Gary Seven and Robert Lansing, which I believe was supposed to be a pilot to a series that never took off. And actually, it's interesting. The video VHS box of this. I don't know if you can see it. Came with this card, the Omega Glory card. Uh, so the crew find the USS Exeter, her crew reduced to dust by a deadly virus, and on the planet below, her captain, Morgan Woodward, living with the Combs, with whom he has shared Federation technology, a violation of the Prime Directive. When the warring Yanks take them prisoner, Kirk realizes they are descendants of Earth colonists from the 1990s, still fighting a war 3 centuries old. Well, okay. Earth colonists from the 1990s. Yeah, okay. Well, putting that Hodgins law to good use. Anyway, I do recommend watching the episode, and I'm going to like start talking a little bit more about this idea about too many cooks spoil the broth. Not only in connection with this episode, this is one sticks out in my mind Star Trek wise, but as you know, I'm also a fan of Space 1999, and there's a one particular Space 1999 episode where this is definitely prevalent, and we'll talk about that some other time. Anyway, I hope you liked it. Please comment when you get a chance. Thank you.